Okay, welcome to the narrated reader expectations video. How this is going to work is I have a document open. I will take you through it and I would love to ask you questions, but they'll have to be rhetorical because you can't answer me, sadly. I highly recommend, though, that you take notes so that you'll be able to expound on those ideas that you have as I'm going through this. Okay, all's fair in Love and War. That's I'm assuming that right when that popped up, you were able to fill in that blank. Let's see the next one. Calm before the storm. Early catches the worm. And then this one I actually like cuts like a knife, hot knife through. Okay. Well, wait, how are you able to do that? You were able to fill in those blanks without there being any words there. That's magical. That's almost half of the words in that sentence that are gone, and you were just able to fill in the blanks. Why did that? How does that work? So our brain is looking ahead, trying to spot where things are going, seeing patterns, finding ways to understand something before it actually comes up. This is called prediction. Psycholinguist Frank Smith said, "Prediction is the reason that the brain is not normally overwhelmed by the possible number of alternatives in language. There are actually only very few alternatives in our mind at any one time that we are comprehending what is being said." And I would add, what is being written. So have you ever seen one of those emails where the words are all scrambled up and you're able to notice how it goes? That's your brain kind of playing tricks, kind of trying to forecast. You're not magical, so don't let it go to your head. Prediction means asking questions, and comprehension means getting those questions answered. Comprehension is not a quantity, it is a state of having no unanswered questions. So think back to a time when you're reading a textbook and you get done with the page and then you stop for a second and you say, well, wait a second. What did I just read? What was on that page? So not only are you not predicting, but you're not asking any questions, which means you're not getting any answers, which means you're not comprehending. So prediction is a key part of understanding. So what does this mean to you as a writer? As you're writing your text, your audience is automatically going to be thinking ahead. So we've talked about on the word level, so they're going to be filling in words. So if you choose a strange word, they're going to be a little thrown because they expected something else and it threw them off when they didn't get it. However, this also works on the larger scale. So as you write your essay, your audience is going to be thinking ahead, trying to see where you're going. So let's dive into an example of a revised essay. I think it's actually more just an outline of an essay, but each successive draft improves on the previous one, getting a little bit clearer. You'll see what I mean. I'm actually just going to read through this. As I do, think about where each of these lines might be leading. So, number one, New York is one of the most densely populated cities in the world. So you might think to yourself, okay, is this a positive thing? Are they going to be going into um, all of the stores and people you connect with? Is this going to be talking maybe about like global population sizes where New York is this kind of city, but other kinds of cities are this? Um, that kind of seems to be the implication with this first one. It cannot be compared to other cities when it comes to crime. Killings and beatings of our elderly citizens by teenagers in the Big Apple are the most hideous crimes committed. Crime is on the rampage morning, noon, and night in New York City. Okay, so that was the end of the first version. Can you see how that first line, even some of the other ones, aren't really as satisfying, aren't really leading in that direction that they could be to take full advantage of our predictive capabilities. So, and it may be hard to acknowledge when we read through it so quickly because it's such a short draft. Um, but for that instant, you were confused. Oh, wait a second. Are we talking about crime? Or are we talking about? So maybe for you, maybe you immediately thought about crime, but maybe somebody else thought about something positive or something that was not exactly related. Or even still, maybe what kinds of crime are we talking about? So maybe for one person, when they hear crime, they think, okay, this nature of crime. So we're talking about shoplifting. And then, wait, killing and beatings of our elderly. I don't think that there were very many of you that were thinking of when they mentioned crime that you were in the mindset of elderly citizens being beaten by teenagers. Probably not the first thing that came to your mind. So, could the author have set that up a little bit better? Answer, well, we'll see in draft 2. Crime is, in reality, a serious problem in New York City. Crime on the IRT subway has gotten out of hand lately. At the Bronx end of the run, there are at least 10 muggings daily. Killings and beatings of our elderly citizens by teenagers are cruel crimes indeed. Old people are easily frightened. Okay, I suspect that that's the point at which you're just like, okay, what is going on here? Old people are easily frightened. What does that have to do with this, with crime? And there is a connection. And it becomes a lot clearer in the next version. Let's keep going though. Um, keep me thinking about what could be better. The newspaper reports that drug abuse in the South Jamaica sections of Queens has increased 60% in the last 6 months. Crime is on the rampage morning, noon, and night in New York City. Okay, so now let's look at the final version, see um, exactly how it's changed. And I'd like to point out that in between each of these versions, there was an in-class discussion where all the students were able to give the student feedback and say, hey, I was confused. Like, what did old people being easily frightened have to do with crime? Or what did the beatings have to do, like, how did that fit the larger picture of where you're going and of what's going on in your essay? And I think this last version really kind of answers a lot of those questions. Um, because as your reader, like as we've talked about, as your reader is reading, they're asking questions. And if you leave them hanging, that's not cool. So let's keep going. Crime is a reality that haunts New York City night and day. Okay, so they've kind of tweaked the end line, moved it to the front. Nice. You want to take a subway from Manhattan to the Bronx? Ooh, a rhetorical question. Better hold on tight to your purse or make sure that your wallet is not in your back pocket. Muggers and pickpockets will be happy to relieve you of your money or even your life. So maybe tone issues, maybe some other things, but you can see how it's each sentence kind of leading into the next, making it clear what's going on. A favorite target of thieves is our elderly citizens as they ride the subway or walk the streets. Oh, awesome. So finally we're the transition from what does the subway have to do? What does any of this have to do with elderly citizens? Old people are easy marks for cruel teenagers who like to beat and kill old people. Okay, so maybe some wording issues. Do teenagers like to beat and kill old people? It's kind of there could be it could be worded a little bit better, but the general movement towards the connections between each line, I think is great. One other reason for so much theft in New York City is drug abuse. Okay, so we're getting that. Junkies want their fix, but first they want our money. The Big Apple has a worm in it. So hopefully you can see how this is all connecting one thing to the next. The reader is not going to be as confused. And you may look at the first few drafts and be like, well, that's not too bad. I could kind of see what they're going for, but you shouldn't have to work for it like that. Your audience can't read your mind. They can only go off of what's on the page. And in our culture, the burden to make that clear connection is on the writer, where it's your job to make sure that your audience doesn't have to fight to understand what you mean. That's going to take them out of the experience of reading your essay. Anyway, so that concludes our reader expectation video. Let me know if there's anything I can do to clarify this topic. Thanks.